Hey, what's up? What's happening? This is the KLA man here coming at you. Well, I got my guest. Her name Mandy Squires, and she here's to talk about fitness, poetry, healing, and family life. Yeah, like how you been?
Hey, I'm doing really well, thank you. Yeah, just
Yeah,
enjoying life,
yeah,
learning how to love it more and more, and bringing more joy in, and understanding the self, and keeping fit and having fun.
yeah. I see you post a lot of reels and stuff on your Instagram.
Yeah, are you digging it?
Yeah. Like you talk about the self and all that energy and the consciousness and stuff like that. So there's things I could relate to, and
Yeah,
so
good.
yeah,
Yeah, it really depends if people can resonate with it or not. But what I like to be able to do is to be able to put it in a way where you can actually understand it,
yeah,
because I think a lot of it comes out where we kind of know about it, but we don't really know how to put it into a practical sense,
right, right.
and then how to
I
apply
mean,
it.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
No,
then
go
figure
ahead.
out how to apply that going in life in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like a meditation practice. It's called Falun Dafa. I've been practicing it for like since 2006. It's like a cultivation practice. It's like the mind and body. It kind of stresses on Shing and stuff like that. It's a lot. I could send you the link later on if you're interested.
Sure, why not? Send it to me. I'll check it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's a lot to talk about with you because you're like a bodybuilder, you're a healer, you're an enthusiast or something like I could say that a fitness enthusiast.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, like health and wellness. Really want to promote actually taking care of your health and not just bodybuilding, like to shift over and just not just to make it about vanity, because it's you can look like you are fit and strong, but your internal world can be like wreak havoc. And I think I went through like part of my journey as was exactly that. I was competing, winning my pro card, but I was in a lot of pain. My body was always aching, and I wasn't really happy, and so my internal world was actually not doing so well. So yeah, could I looked huge, big, strong, and I could go to the gym, but I was tired all the time, and my body was just sore and constantly sore. So I had to really start looking within and seeing what it is that I had to do, differently, and look at fitness and bodybuilding from a wellness standpoint and not just an aesthetic standpoint. Because a lot of times when you have a goal, right, you get set in a blinder of that goal. And I think for the most part, I always um, wanted to keep my health in check. But you don't know what you don't know till you know what you know. So I really wasn't doing things in the best way possible. And now that I know so much more, I really want to be able to listen to my body and feed my body nourishment. And I don't want to overcompensate. I don't um, want to throw away my actual health and well-being for how I look anymore. Because sometimes you'll like weigh the pendulum. Okay, well, what is more risk? Well, I want this, and so like you decide to have cognitive dissonance about that. It's actually going to hinder your health. So instead of like, you're like, it's okay because this has more weight. Like, I really, really want to achieve this. I want to look good. And so sometimes you put your health kind of up here because you think, you take it for granted. You think like nothing's going to happen to me or like whatnot. And then, COVID is a huge, big thing that hit that should really wake us up to be like, hey, let's not take our health for granted. And our health isn't on something that's external. Our health actually comes from what we're doing internally from the inside in mind, body, and spirit, right? So like
Yeah.
it's not what you do outside. There's no magic pill. Like your body is a miraculous machine in itself. It does miracles. It works perfectly and divinely, and it knows exactly how to do everything synergistically and perfectly when it's running, when you're treating it right. But when you're not treating it right, then it starts to break down. So like when you look at anything, the mechanics of anything, if you're not treating the mechanics of that properly and allowing it to clear out the guck and allowing it to, not overrunning it and allow or running it, like if you could have a car sit for too long and go right, it starts to break down. If you have a car just continuously going forever and ever and ever, it's going to break down, right? So the same thing, this is the mechanics of our body is the same thing. If you like keep it sitting, it's going to break down. If you overdo it, it's going to break down. There's a harmony that you have to have. And not only that, but like it's like it works on, your emotional body and your spiritual body, and it all comes and it works synergistically together. So your body is so cool. It provides information and communication to you to be able to help you understand what do I need to understand about myself. So like, and a lot of times what we do is we ignore those things because we don't understand the importance. We don't understand the communication. It's like it's speaking a language to us, and we are choosing not to sit and understand it. It's like to us, it's going wah, 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 when really we should understand our body. All we really have to do is slow down and sit with it and ask ourselves, like, okay, what does my body need? Does my body truly need this? Does it need more rest? Does it need more movement? What kind of movement does it need? To do I need to make it stronger? Do I need to work on my flexibility? Do it like, because it all comes hand to hand. So the things that like I know now, I have a whole bunch of things that if I knew now what I would do then, and how I would, how I think it would even accelerate where I have been. But, it's a part of the journey, and we have a big ego as we're going through a lot of things. So like, for example, warm up, cool down, or like stretching or yoga, how much I used to disregard those things as unimportant because I really wanted to achieve this huge goal that I set out to achieve. So it's like, no, I want to build muscle. No, I want to burn fat. So like, I'm not going to do all these like little things that aren't really burning a whole lot of calories, aren't really, I thought was not actually going to do something for me. But now in hindsight, and understanding my body and how I've incorporated it, now I see that those very things could actually make you way more efficient in achieving those goals. But you don't understand the importance, because like when you actually have more range of motion and you're getting more blood to your muscles, which is what flexibility, like stretching and yoga can do, you can actually, when you get more blood flow to the actual muscle, then you can lift more, essentially easier, and you can grow. And so when you have um like those problem areas that you have that don't grow, those are beautiful gifts of information too. So those are the places where it's like, okay, there's stagnant energy there. So like say, okay, my shoulder, I am having problem areas with my shoulders. Well, that's going to give you communication. Or I have a problem area with my glutes. That's going to give you communication. It's going to give you communication on many different levels, on simply your physical level, meaning like, okay, there's a muscle there that just isn't firing. Now, when you look at that too, like say your lower body, then it's like, okay, well, what in my foundation within me, because that's what it's attached to, like your root chakra, your foundation, your sense of belonging. So there may be some internal work to even go in there. And so like you can, so it's telling you a whole bunch of different things. First of all, you need to isolate it. And then all of a sudden, and also there may be things in a shadow aspect of your internal world that could be correlated too. And once you actually, if you work and tie all those things together, then you see everything start to flow and start to activate and start to fire. And then your growth starts becoming exponential, and you don't even have to, it's never, it's not going to be one of those problem areas anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, so you're like a yogi, if I could say, if I could ask that, like you study the chakras and because I mean, it's almost like the way you discussing it is more like a acupuncture, the energy channels and stuff like that.
I'm interested in a lot of these things, and I look at it for my own interest. So I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on any of those. I don't want to
Yeah,
misrepresent myself. I am going to take yoga teacher training. I haven't taken it yet. So, like,
yeah,
but life is yoga. So there's different types of yoga. And what is life? Life can be yoga in terms of how you reflect back, how you take information and reflect that back and process it. So that is like seeing everything on a spiritual basis can be, daily yoga practice, which is not just movement. So, like, in that way, I guess, without putting a label on it, yeah, I practice, daily habits as yoga, as my life, as a consistent devotion to spirit.
okay. So like are you competing currently now, or you just kind of took a break from that?
Yeah, I haven't competed since right before COVID. I was, as
Um,
COVID was approaching, I was preparing for my um, competition, and then it got canceled, and then I haven't actually felt um, the pull to do it as of yet. I don't say never, because if the feeling comes up, but there's just so many things that I'm enjoying learning about and incorporating, and wanting to build some businesses and doing things in that way. I want to be of
yeah,
service to others, and to be able to actually coach and train other people lifestyle, because I really think that I could help people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because you know, I noticed like with bodybuilders, it kind of like it could be a health benefit, but it could be not a health benefit if it makes sense.
Yeah, it's
So
actually quite, it can be very unhealthy. You're doing very unhealthy things to your body, but there is a way to do it in the most healthy way possible, right? And then to like be
right,
supportive of your system. A lot of people, amateurs, get into it when they're following it, and they're not, a lot of them are doing very dangerous things to their
yeah,
bodies, and you have to be very, very careful. Like, you can't mess around with the things, the chemicals, the science that's going on within your body. You can, you're changing your hormones, you're changing your body chemistry, and your hormones affect the way that you think, it affects your mood, it affects the way your body functions. You have to be really careful with what you're doing.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I talk to a lot of bodybuilders at times. Well, I try to talk to a lot of bodybuilders. It depends if they want to talk to me. But, I hear like certain people, they talk about, when they competing, they was like, they felt kind of, their body kind of, it took a lot out of them when they was competing. And some had to retire, so. But like you started like when you was like a teenager.
So I did my first bodybuilding competition, yeah, when I was 16. And I did it, but I didn't like fully experience it. Like, I entered it, I was late. And so I got to only participate in the night show for the first one. Then
Right.
I did another one where I participated in all of it, but like I didn't really know what I was doing. As my first show, I had a boyfriend who's a personal trainer, significantly older than me. He was kind of telling me what to do, but like he really like knowing what I know now compared to like what I was doing then, it was very generalized. But I mean, given the circumstances of me being 16 years old and at that time, it was pretty fantastic still. But I knew I was as I was doing it, I was like, like this isn't the absolute best, one can have. There's so much more that I would have to learn, so much more that I could do. So I knew that there was, I knew that that was it was a dream laying dormant within me. And I kind of knew it would eventually come its way back around in the future. So then I started doing entertainment wrestling after that because there was um, an advertisement to do at that bodybuilding show to do a reality TV show with an entertainment wrestling company. So
Yeah,
I went into that and I did and I practiced and trained, and we did a pilot for a reality TV show, and Sensational or Scary Sherry from like WWF, the original, was in it. She
yeah,
was in it with us, and we did the pilot, but the pilot didn't actually sell. And I was so I guess tired and like meh after that, because the reason I did it, I used to want to be an actress when I was younger, and that was my dream. And so like when I
yeah.
saw
You
like this
got the face
entertainment,
of it. Yeah.
thank you.
You ever yeah, you seen the Fifth Element?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. As somebody told you, you almost look like on Mila, what's her name?
Mila
She was
Jokovic.
your resident. Yeah, yeah, a little bit. Like you have the eyes. Yeah, you
That's
have the
so funny.
eyes.
That's so funny because I remember in my first gym that I was working at, where I was training to be, there was a member that told me that I
Yeah,
looked like
yeah,
her,
yeah.
and you just brought it up right now, and I hadn't heard that in maybe this many years. So,
Yeah, you do. I mean, you have the face, like even like I'm looking at your pictures, and it's like it's I'm not gonna lie, I get little kind of mesmerized with bodybuilders sometimes. You have that face,
mm,
because bodybuilders they're mostly like stigmatized, like you look like a man, and
mhm,
you can't really show it to people sometimes that you admire women like that, you know. So,
mm. Yeah, it's such an
yeah,
interesting dynamic, but there's so many people out there that like it, but it's so secretive and under wraps. And then that's where you get into, like, we could go into even all of consciousness, right? Like, and about like where your vibrations and the shame, and you hold shame, the more that you become secretive and keep yourself shamed, you're actually putting yourself in more shameful situations, and you continue to bring that within your world, and it keeps you at the lowest vibration that there is. And so it's interesting because they say the ones that love, the fans of female bodybuilders are like, no, we love you. Why do you have to be ashamed? Meanwhile, they're ashamed of liking female bodybuilders because there's a whole story that goes along with it. And what does it mean? And like, so there's this whole like, yeah, stigmatism on both sides of it, which is interesting. But um, it's definitely in the last few years gotten less and less, with the influx of Instagram, I think, but it's still there quite a lot.
yeah, yeah. Well, you got some people that want to say hi to you. You got my boy Lawrence Perkins. Good
Hi,
evening,
Lauren.
Mandy, Kid Clyde, and everyone on the chat. Hey, what's up, man? You got James Henry. Same to you, Perkins. Tricks, Mount Rushmore of Beauty, Dante. Hi, everyone. Hey, yeah. I mean, you. I had some pictures and stuff.
Mhm.
That's when you first was in Didi on the spot, and you know Yeah, I kind of went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on your pictures, so you gotta forgive me. You know, yep, yeah, you like the cereal. I like when you do this Marilyn Monroe, but not yet, but you know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So how you became like so conscious and stuff, like self-aware?
Oh boy. Well, I think, I've always been into, um since I was small, young, God was always very important to me. And then I went on through my journey. And then I abandoned God when I felt I didn't deserve God anymore. But I took it upon myself. Like, it was just, so my family didn't say like, hey, you have to go to this church, you have to go to this church. I seeked it out automatically. It was something that was just like embedded within me. And I always had these spiritual beliefs within myself that didn't really match like one particular religion, but I didn't see the things that other people saw, like the separatism. I'm going to learn about God and experience God. So it didn't matter to me what religion or what church that I went to. I would just go to anyone, and I would seek it out myself. And I would question things like, in my internal world, like, what? I don't understand this money concept. Like, what are you telling me that humans make money, yet there's humans that don't have enough food to eat? Well, if we can make the money, why don't we just, like, how do we have some people with no food and so little and other people with so much? Like, this concept always boggled my mind. So, which is, I don't know how much into spirituality you are. Like, this is part of the matrix, right? Like, that should wake people up to be like, okay, what's going on here? So there was just all these little things. But then, I kind of stepped out. I lived a very um traumatic life, and I had like experienced violent, like, viewed violence, and there was a whole bunch of things that happened. Um, but eventually, yeah, and then there was a point where I felt like, okay, I don't deserve God, and I'm not going to pray to God anymore. And so, like, I kind of, like, God and spirituality and stuff was there, but I had separated myself from being worthy of God, I suppose. And then eventually it came in, actually. Well, I got married, and I still was like, okay, I'm going to go in the church. And then when I went into the church, because, like, I still kind of had my, like, these values of, like, religion. So I knew about religion, but I didn't really know about spirituality. But I knew before, like, one religion didn't make sense to me. I don't know why religions would be fighting each other. I don't understand why they would think this God is different because you're this religion, and that one's different than that. Like, your gods are different. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. But I would not, like, put any attention or focus on that. I would just, like, enjoy as my beliefs that I saw God, beliefs in Jesus about turning it, like, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And the certain things that, like, held resonance within me. And so, when I separated from my marriage, oh, sorry, I skipped around. When I was getting married, the first thing that made me question actual religion, because I heard people question religion and have, like, ill um, thoughts about it, but I never, like, read into it. But when I was getting married, and then the Catholic priest was more concerned. They said, okay, you give a donation. And I'm like, okay, so it's a donation when they say a certain amount, but, like, they were just only about the money. Like, it ended up being this focus about the money and not what was happening, this sacrament that was taking place. And I had realized then that this religion was a lot more focused on money than it was what it was actually honoring. So it's kind of started to wake me up. And then when I separated, I met my first boyfriend who, or first boyfriend. I met a boyfriend that was a bodybuilder, Reza, and he was very spiritual. And I started listening to the things that he was saying and what he was doing, and just reminding me of all the things that I used to internalize as a kid. And it started bringing back all of, yeah, he's right there.
Yeah, yeah,
And started bringing back all these concepts and reminding me, oh yeah, I used to believe this. I used to think this. And so it started activating me again. And he ended up passing away at a young age. But I am super grateful for him to like kind of like awaken that spirituality within me again. And then I had another relationship that was quite a power play within that relationship that actually was very tough. And but it made me realize that I had to heal a lot of my trauma, my childhood trauma, and that I needed to look into myself so that I would not attract, uh, certain types of individuals anymore.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
because like the common denominator is me, right? So, like, what am I vibrating? So, what in me is going to attract people that are going to treat me like that? And why? Why? And I started sitting with myself and asking myself why. And I was like, I cannot end up in another toxic relationship like this. Like, this has to stop. So, COVID happened as well, which made us sit with ourselves and gave an opportunity for that, as well as like me being in the situation that I'm in, as well as like, me shaming myself quite a lot and shaming myself in bodybuilding and shaming myself for working, as a model flexing. There's a lot of shame that I held for that. And misalignment for certain like who I truly am versus what I have to be, and how does society see me. And what I ended up learning is that I was being reflected back my own feelings. So like because I was shaming myself, I was attracting people who would come in and shame me, right? And so I would so then it would instill this program that I already had within myself. So
yeah,
then I started doing then I was doing ayahuasca ceremonies, and I just really started to go in deep to like really learn about myself, learn about relationships, learning about spirituality, learning about getting to know who I am, and also like why I act or why I how energy works. That relationship really was a big eye opener, because um when you have someone overpowering you and yelling at you, right? Like your first line, you think like, I need to defend myself. So then you maybe yell back, right? And then when you really get to observe energy, that's only going to create a bigger and bigger explosion, right? So the only way to, with a narcissistic um experience is you can't reason with a narcissist, right? So what it teaches you energy. It teaches you like, okay, don't give the same energy back, or like you cannot have defensiveness, attack, or anything. But what you end up having to do is learning, how can I control the energy in a place of love and compassion, so that there is nothing to be used back at you, and to see that person's small inner child, right? And when you can see that as a small inner child, that this is what they used to go through when they were small, this is how they were brought up, they don't know any better, and it has nothing to do with you. And when you learn that things are not an attack on you, and that it's really just people playing out their trauma dynamics, right? So it really has nothing to do about you, it's their trauma dynamics, they're playing out a pattern. So when you stop taking things personal, you realize that like you see everything differently. So and that's where also you get into the chakras, like, which is super amazing, right? Like your sense, when you're strong in your foundation and your sense of belonging, when you're strong in how relationship dynamics work, and that, your sexuality, and when you're
yeah,
confident and you have your willpower, like when you speak your truth, but from your heart, and when you're in your heart space and you know that they are you and you are them and they're coming as a gift, like you then don't have to, you then see that nothing is an attack, it's just everything's a gift. So if you feel any sort of way, then it means like, okay, there's a belief system in one of these energy centers that might be a little bit shaky. So now I take that information and I sit with it. Because the reality is, if you're completely firm and in your beliefs and who you are and all the things, it doesn't matter what anybody else does, because you're just going to be there in love. But if you're not in a place of love and compassion, and uh like you feel like you have to attack, if you feel like you have to defend, meanwhile if someone's like physically, like there's a way to defend yourself in a place of love, right? A self-defense and love. But if you're just doing it like from a place of ego, then there's something within you that you think that is there's a shaky belief that whatever they're saying is you're kind of believing that. So there's something in you that kind of believes them. So then you have to think, then you have to go back into yourself and be like, okay, why is that bothering me? Like, do I believe something of what they're saying? Because a lot of times we're lying to ourselves where we have no idea. So our nervous system and our body is going to react to kind of give us that information, because like our minds, right? Like we will block so much of what's going on because our nervous system has like shut it out for a protective mechanism a lot of times. So it taught me so much. Like, so your biggest challenges and your biggest, like, you know, people that you may feel that you may at a point think that they harmed you, were really not harming you but bringing you a gift. Everything is a gift once you learn how to change that lens and that perspective around. And then you could learn that you're trying to teach yourself, maybe you're trying to teach yourself boundaries. So that's what I have to learn a lot about, boundaries and feeling safe, right? So being in alignment, so, and not being codependent and not people pleasing. So it's okay to say no. And if that person chooses to treat you differently because you did not, if you weren't okay with that, that's not your fault, that's their work. But if you didn't deliver it in a place, like if you delivered it not in a loving place, then there's still work for you to do, right? So
Yeah,
everything's a dance.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of interesting because I have it's this person that it's a teacher I know, and he says that people came to this world because they had to like cultivate themselves into a higher being, if you understand that. And the stuff that we go through as the tribulations, if you believe in reincarnation, you had many past lives, and so maybe at some point we could have did wrongdoings to people and we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So in this lifetime, you kind of like you're clueless because a lot of stuff it kind of happens, and you're like, why this happening to me and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so and so sometimes you get frustrated, and like you'll react to it, but then you'll kind of lose this energy, like this. It's called the white matter, like the virtue, and the more you kind of act on certain things that people, you know, if you reach to the same level way how people treat you, you're not gonna gain anything. It
Mm-hmm.
more like it accumulates because a lot of stuff, these stuff they was taught like thousands of years, but it was always kept in a secret. So, people was clueless. They didn't know anything like that. People like Jesus, Shakyamuni, they came to the world and it was teaching people, and it was a lot more. But like but it's always kind of it's always hitting and stuff. There's a lot of stuff I probably could tell you, but because I study, I study what I study, Falun Dafa, and because I was like you, like why is this happening to me? Why am I running into all these problems and stuff? And and just with the love and the compassion, it's like you always have to I always have to study it because I forget. Like the simplest thing, if somebody bump into me, I would get annoyed and stuff like that. And so
Mhm.
when I started kind of like studying the stuff I was studying, it kind of like gave me a sense of awareness. Like
Mhm.
why, some things it could be psychological. Some things I had to just keep. It's almost like you peeling an onion and stuff. You have
Mhm.
to kind of get rid of the certain layers that you have. The more
Mhm.
that, and you're not going to see it overnight. It's more like it's like playing the violin. Like you you have to keep working at it. My thing it was basketball because basketball, like I started playing basketball when I was like 17 years old, and I would kind of learn it through because I would see Michael Jordan and all that stuff, and you know, but I would always have like these hardships in basketball because there were certain things I lacked. And then the more, I progress, I would kind of work at it. I still wasn't good, but I would always like not give up. And that's how it is, trying to improve yourself. That's the best way I can explain you
Mhm.
know. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like that.
So like you can it's good to learn, right? But it's and when you know something and you read something, but the beauty happens in the practice of it and the application of it. So when you take something and you think about it, okay, how does this apply to my life and how would I practice that? So like exactly what you're saying, like if I'm, someone bumps into me and I'm annoyed, okay, well, that is a beautiful gift because now you're being gifted with a chance to practice what you've been learning, right? So
Right,
if I'm being
right.
annoyed, right, then like what is that teaching me? Why am I annoyed, right? Like I'm thinking that they should, know where I'm going and be in my space and I'm insulted because, like what are the stories that you're being told? And then it's like, okay, well, that's not really true. When have I ever bumped into somebody by accident and where was my mind at? Okay, yeah, it didn't mean anything. So like if this person is bumping into me, I know a time when like, I did this and it didn't like I wasn't intentional. So it's possible that this wasn't intentional too. Ah, okay. So now I can start taking that into, when it happens the next time. And sometimes and it's just constant practice, right? So it might have took you this amount of space before you came to that conclusion, and then the next time like there's that amount of space, and the next time that amount, till eventually it's just automatic and you're just like, and you're smiling and laughing at the person bumping into you, right?
Yeah,
So that's how it happens. So it's like always in the application. The proving yourself, well, that's the whole thing. That is the thing is we don't have to prove ourselves because we're like, but it's about instilling your own inner faith in you. You don't have to prove
yeah,
yourself to anyone. The only one you ever truly are trying to prove is yourself. So when you think you're trying to prove to somebody else, it's because you're not. You have a lack of belief within yourself, and in order for you to be good or attain something, you have to have faith that you can achieve it, right? So like that's the missing link, is like knowing that it is possible, because if you have a certain amount of resistance in there where you're like not sure of it, then that is the resistance that you're working with to actually achieve that goal. So like it's about knowing that it's possible, feeling into it, and basically being in the moment that it's already happened. And then after, it's just allowing yourself to do the steps that will bring you to that
yeah,
vision of already having achieved it. And then it becomes reality, basically.
yeah.
So it's,
Um,
that space.
Trink, uh, intelligence is power, and such a turn on. Keep winning, Mandy.
Thank you,
So,
Trey.
so you so like during the pandemic, like so you couldn't go to the gym and stuff. You was working out and stuff, and like at home and stuff, and just trying to like figure out who Mandy Squires is.
Yeah. So pronounced Squires.
Squires.
Yeah,
My bad. I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Squires.
No worries. Um, yeah, so I was lucky because I found so you can vibrate. And so I guess I really like started I really learned a lot about energy because I naturally gravitate and observe, and I've always been an observer and paying attention to like how things work. So like if
Mm,
I would always, for example, do these like little tiny experiments even as a kid. I'm going to smile at everybody and see, if I can, how that's going to affect the cause and the effect, and just see how many people actually smile back. And then, you just observe and you see how that happens. Okay, I'm going to stare at people in their car and see how long it takes them to see that I'm seeing me, and seeing what their natural tendency, like if they have this extra ESP, and it happens all the time. So when you do like all these small experiments, you start to realize like there's something bigger here, right? So about energy and about vibration and stuff. So when I during COVID, I started realizing, like, I used to do the go for the protests and whatnot, because I was like,
mm,
this didn't sit well with me, blah blah blah. We're not gonna, I won't get into that. But what I started to realize is the energy. I started looking at the energy, and I started realizing those who are for the vax and those who are against the vax. And here they are. And I looked at their energy, and I realized that they were the same energy. So it didn't matter where you were going. There was like, so it's still from a fear base, from an attack base. And then I'm like, okay. So then I stopped doing the protest because I was like, this is actually just feeding the separation and the split. Because what
mm,
is spirituality but like actual love, compassion, and free will and freedom? So, my point is, I always seem to, people are like, oh, there's not enough people who are awake. There's not enough. That's because that's your belief system. When you say there's not, or everything is closed, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. I found everything available to me. Like because I naturally gravitated, I was like, no, there's lots of people awake. And so every time I would bang into people, all the people I talked to are like either interested in listening or on the edge, or like are on the same vibration and the same wavelength. And so there was a short period of time where I didn't have any gym, but I also found a gym that actually had the same values and was open when they technically weren't, supposed to be. But I found that gym, and I went to that gym, and I became loyal to that gym specifically because of that. And so like you just, it's this belief system and the fear that will create your reality. So like if you think you're in this lack, and you think you don't have this, or you think that this isn't going to be possible, or you think that, then that's what you're going to be shown. But if you think no, where there's a will, there's a way. That's a huge, like, that's truth. When there's a will, there's a way. You don't, if you truly want something, you figure out the way. Same thing like through my bodybuilding. I was a single mom with two kids. And I was like, you know, uh, how would I be able to do this? It's expensive to compete, and it's a lot of work. And I'm a single mother with two kids, and I don't have family that supports me, but I wanted it. So when there's a will, there's a way. So you find all the things, and they come, they vibrate. When you believe that it will be brought to you, it will be brought to you. It will be shown. But if it's not shown, then ask yourself, what are you believing? Are you believing that it won't be? Are you looking for blockages because you don't truly want it for yourself? And that's where you go inside again and be like, what is this reality that I'm being brought forth? What is its value to me? Because it's always serving something, because you're creating it. So if you're seeing blocks, then there's a reason you're wanting those blocks up. So let's get into those reasons. Like, why would I not want myself to succeed? Why would I not want myself to be making this money? What is my belief system around money? Do I believe that people are evil that have money? Blah, 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 blah. So it's always information. So everything can be available to you should you believe in it, and should you want it, and should you actually get the blocks that you create, because you're the only one that creates the blocks. And there is no they. It's an illusion. They do this, they do that. Yes, there are theys, but the theys, if you give your power away to them, you're disempowering yourself. And the tools, there's so many tools around available to you that really you're just finding the reasons why you can't, because there's a reason why you don't believe it, or there's a reason why you truly don't want it. If you truly want it and believe it, there are no can'ts. There's only workarounds, and you just got to find the tools and figure it out.
I mean, that's a lot, sometimes, sometimes it don't always go the way you want it to go, you know.
Well, that's maybe the part of the thing is, right? So you have an attachment to how you think it's going to be brought to you, right? So could be part of your block, right? It's like, what is it that you want to experience? What truly is it that you want? What energy do you want to feel? And what's the reason that you want this, and why? And when you get
Yeah,
into the energy, instead of like hey, I expect this to go like this, and then this to be brought to me by this person or this way. Those are expectations. And when you create expectations and they don't actually pan out to your expectations, you then go into a lower vibration. And then you're actually going to the lower vibration, and you're creating more blocks, right? Because you created an expectation of how it will be delivered and who it will be delivered by. And the universe said, no, that's not for you to pick. What do you want? And then look for the gifts, because they're being brought to you. But when you have a certain expectations and blinders that it needs to be delivered like this, and by whom, and by that, all the actual gifts that are coming to give you what you want, you're blinded by your expectation and you don't even see it.
yeah. I get back to you on that one. I let's touch on your this. What
Mm,
about the JP Essential? Um,
mm,
you been meaning to want to talk about this?
I'd love to. I think this is like what every bodybuilder should be on, to be honest. And if I had known about
Yeah,
this way back then, it would be amazing, because when you're a bodybuilder, you have such a limited like diet, and
right.
your actual health and well-being needs a variety of nourishment to sustain you and give you energy to help with recovery. I feel like with all my that a lot of the commercial health products that are being sold, the gym bro products, actually put you in a cycling loop of actually the things that they promote, or the things that actually
Mm,
create the things that you're trying to get over. For example, um and this is my personal opinion, so like don't anybody come at me with, but like pre-workouts and stuff like that, people continuously take this, but they're actually depleting your like adrenal glands. And so like they're saying, take this so that you can have more energy. So then you take that, you get more energy, but then all of a sudden you get these highs and lows and your adrenals get fatigued. And so like your actual, it's not and natural clean energy that actually sustains you for a long time to keep you in harmony. It's something that takes you like this, right? And then so you go up and then you go down and then you're like, oh my God, I need it so much. So then you make sure that you buy it again. So you go down and then you're like, and then you're just in this loop and you have to even take more and take more. And then you just keep going like this. Whereas if you're having clean, sustainable, actual energy, when you're treating your body right, you don't even have to, like, there's no need to be like, oh, I'm so down. And that's the thing is too, like when you're taking all these things, you start to, you become not attuned to what your body needs. Because sometimes if you're tired, sometimes you need to listen to your body and be like, I need to rest. But sometimes it's that you've been like messing around. Your homeostasis in your body is not in a heart, it's not in harmony. So anyways, I love this because like it's fruits and vegetables. So you, and as a bodybuilder too, you don't really eat fruits because like it's like high sugar, it's gonna raise your glycemic index, it's gonna make it hard to lose body fat. So like you're really just like you're eating chicken and you're eating like maybe broccoli and you're eating rice. Like that's mostly what you're eating.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of different nourishment. And so these are real whole fruits and vegetables. Like it's not a supplement that's synthetic. So the difference between synthetic is that it's a concentrated form that is artificial, concentrated. So when you take a synthetic vitamin, the amount that's bioavailable is not the same as whole food. So like that's why when you pee, you see it like it's neon yellow in the toilet. So you're pissing your money down the toilet, right? So your body's not actually absorbing all that. That's what you're seeing in the toilet. When you take something that's fully bioavailable, meaning the body really loves it, it takes it in, it utilizes it because it's like, yes, I recognize this as something that belongs to me. And so I'm going to take this nourishment, this nutrition, and I'm going to utilize it to its full capability. And the reason that a lot of people have like a lot of ailments is that they're malnourished. They're dehydrated and malnourished. So, and then you're clogging yourself up with processed foods. Processed foods is like putting dirt and chunks into like the tubes. So your body's not able to flow very nice because it's got all this junk and toxins in it. So if you actually put more whole fruits and vegetables, more antioxidants in your body that your body wants and absorbs, it's going to function better and you get better recovery, your blood flow. If you got better blood flow, you're getting better blood flow to your muscles, you're able to grow better, you're able to recover better. So it's and you don't have, and you can get more fruits and vegetables into your body with no calories. So
Where
when
do
you're
you, where,
dieting,
no, I
hmm?
was gonna ask you where do you get this? Like where would somebody find these products? Like if
Yeah, so if you go on my Instagram, you can email me or like you can send me
okay.
a DM and I can send you the link. But also there's a link tree on my Instagram and you can click on the
Okay.
link tree as well. And like it's monthly. You pay monthly and you get 4 months at a time. And it's like it's meant to be as a commitment because it's about a healthy lifestyle. So commit to your health, commit to yourself. And it's so funny. Commitment is something that people are so scared to do. And people are so scared to commit to their health and well-being. It's crazy. But that's what you need to do. You need to actually commit to you, yourself, your health, your well-being. And it's not expensive because people are buying Starbucks a day or people are buying, who knows, maybe a pack of cigarettes, maybe beer, maybe chips, maybe like, like, or a Starbucks or a coffee a day. So like when you're spending like, it's about under $5 a day, you could be getting yourself pretty much the equivalent, like you're getting yourself real food, real nourishment, real nutrition that your body's actually going to take. You're going to take that, you're going to be more energized, more healthy, and then you're going to be able to take that and apply it into your life. And when you're actually more vibrant, healthy, happy, you're actually more productive. And when you're that, you're able to like enjoy your life better, maybe be more creative, maybe work better, more efficient. So it actually gives back to you rather than detracts. So I believe in it. Obviously, that's why I got with them, because I truly do
I,
believe
oh.
in the
No,
product.
I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask you, is there any bodybuilder that you know that takes this besides you, or
I don't know, but I've been meaning to reach out to them, because I'm gonna do that, but they really should be. I'm going. That's a marketplace I actually want to tap into, but I don't know
yeah,
of anyone yet. I'm sure there must be, but I don't know. Not anyone from like me talking to them, but that's definitely something that I plan to send them a message, because if they understand the value of it, to supporting, especially, you're putting a lot of other supplementations that are basically toxic for your body. So you
yeah.
really want to support it in the best high quality products as possible. Because once, like, if you take your health for granted, and unfortunately a lot of people do, until something happens, and then you realize how important your health is, when really you got to be proactive. And if you're proactive and taking care of it, you're golden.
Do you look at like the current like how the competitions now with with physique or bodybuilding or anything like that? Did you see the Olympia?
I actually didn't watch it this year. Like, normally I have been paying attention in the past few years, but I hadn't been following it this year. I just hadn't been into it. But I have my friend Mona Porcele. I She competes in the Olympia as female bodybuilder, so I love and support her. Yeah, I watched the women's physique winner. I knew she would win again. But I haven't been following it, because when I'm into something, I'm really into it, and then when I'm out, like, I'm very, like, right now my path has been wellness, health and fit, like wellness and spirituality and like healing. And so when it becomes bodybuilding, then it would be like, vroom, that's what I'm in. So like I shift, but me as my body and how I have my body, it's second nature, and it's just natural for me to continue in the gym, as I am, because that's how I love to be. I genuinely love the lifestyle of me working out and lifting and eating right and eating healthy. And I love that look upon me. So but there's other aspects in my life that I also want to experience. So like this is just one aspect of me, and I've nailed this one pretty good. So because I've nailed this one, I can now experience other aspects of my life, to enrich it and to like learn and keep growing and evolving.
So you mostly like promoting it like these vitamins?
I don't understand the question. Ask me again.
No,
Am I
I'm asking you like so you're like more of a promoter of the vitamins?
Well, I've taken it on as a business, because it is a market multi-level marketing. So you can, if you like it and enjoy it and want to sell it, you can.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I sell it as a business, as my business,
Oh,
um,
okay.
which is great, because a lot of things don't give you that don't give you that option. It's like, hey, when you're a bodybuilder or you're a athlete, it's like, hey, please promote this, and we'll give you like 5% off, right? But the beauty of it is, I actually believe in it and I love it. So if I love it and believe in it, and I am very integrous, I don't stand behind anything that I don't actually truly believe in. Like, I just don't get into promoting a supplement brand just because I want to get a name for myself, right? And like, to
Yeah,
me, I can't I can't promote something that I don't 100% believe in.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because like, because like the stigma, like with bodybuilders, they take all these supplements and they're natural. The question with them is are they natural? Are they not natural and stuff like that? Then
Mm.
but
Oh, well, most of them. Most of them are not natural.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
But
like,
it look,
but that doesn't matter because, like, you still got to put in a whole lot of work, and it's not a magic pill. And there's no such thing as a magic pill. So, like, to be what any of them look like takes a lot of freaking work, takes a lot of um, knowledge and chemistry, takes a lot of energy. So, like, it doesn't detract away from any of like the amazingness of them. Um, and um, but there are it depends who you're looking at and who actually is natural or not. But um, whether that person wants to say what they are or not, I guess that's a personal opinion. And does it really? I don't know. I'm natural now. I've been natural for a few years.
yeah,
Um, but for a while, yeah, it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. I think for a lot of bodybuilders to say, like, yeah, this is what I'm talking that I'm not natural, or like it's obvious, because like a lot of people like to take that and say like because you're taking something as if that takes away from like the amount of work that you do, and that's not true. Because
yeah,
some people think like, oh, I'm going to take some steroids and I'm going to, oh, they take steroids. If I took steroids, I'd be as big as them. But if you know about there's so many people taking steroids and not doing it properly and not working out properly and look like shit. And you think, what the fuck? You're taking steroids? It's not about that. Cause like really, essentially what it comes down to is you have to have the foundational work. You have to put the work in. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know how you're eating. You need to know even what stuff you're taking, how to take it, and it isn't about more is better. A lot of times less is more, and how you're stacking it and and the quality of it. Like there's so much that goes into it. So
yeah. Well, this is a picture of you when you was 16.
hmm, yeah, I was
Yeah,
natural there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I try to understand bodybuilders, like, because with me, it was more of a lust thing. I would just
Hmm.
like look at the bodybuilders and stuff. I mean, I tried to work out too myself, I did calisthenics and stuff. And then probably when I would go to the gym like once in a blue moon with my friend, it wasn't like consistent. So, mostly I worked out like in a park and stuff like that. But,
Hmm.
with bodybuilders, it, especially with the competitions and stuff, I'm trying to understand that type of thing, like with the point system and the prep, the diuretics, and it's a lot. You like, I wouldn't want to be a bodybuilder and stuff, So it's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's gotta
So
be 24/7, right? Like that's your laser focus. That's why when you say, okay, you're gonna do a competition, well, you know, you eat, sleep, breathe it. You want to win, you eat, sleep, breathe. You want to be successful, but that's like if you're going to do anything well, you're going to do a business, you're going to do, like a certain skill set. You want to be good at anything. You pretty much like, that's it. You got to put the work in, you got to focus, you got to give it your all. So, but like if you're doing it for health and like wanting to get into shape, it's always consistency. And no matter with whatever you're doing, consistency wins over anything else. Just do it on a consistent basis and practice. It's when you're not doing consistent, like then you're not gonna see the results that you're gonna get. So like the way the one of the big things that I recall when I first started working out is how to keep myself focused and disciplined was like, this is fucking hard, and I'm doing it today, and then I do it another day. This is fucking hard. And then if I want to stop, I think about how hard the other 2 days were, and I think if I stop now, that hardness that I just went through is going to be wiped out. Fuck that. I don't want to lose any of, you know, any of that work that I did and make it be for nothing. So what do I want
yeah,
here? And so like you use that and you put that forward. So it's always it's always, you got to bring yourself back and remind yourself and play the head games, like, and tell yourself, like, what do I want? Do I want to see the results from the work that I put in? I have a choice here. My choice is I can give up and lose the work that I put in, or I can keep going. But then, of course, you have to make sure that you find a balance and that you're not overworking, overexerting, overtraining, um, because that can also take away from your results. But most people, a lot of people aren't in that avenue, but then there are people who are in that avenue. So when it comes, that's why there's not one blanket answer for everybody, because you got the people who overdo it, and then you got the people who underdo it, and you got to figure out, where do you lie in that, right? And then how do you talk to yourself, and how do you guide, and how do you coach? So to say to do this as a one blanket statement, it just doesn't work, because there's so many different personalities.
Yeah. Back to the vitamins. Like say like somebody prepping, like how would they feel? You know, because prep it seemed hard. Like it's not an easy thing, and certain foods you gotta stay away. So they gonna be energized like they once they take those vitamins.
Well, I mean, you just take them and you'll feel like, if your body is getting the nourishment that it needs, you're more likely,
Yeah,
yeah, it feeds the mitochondria and the cell, like, it's all, the science is proven with, with how nourishment works. Your cells need the nourishment. So if you're actually feeding the cells the variety of nourishment that it needs, it's obviously going to function and work better, which is all, it's going to vibrate better, and it's going to give you more energy. It's going to give you a better opportunity. Now, there are, maybe, I don't want to say like, hey, this is what's going to happen, because there are other factors that may come into play, right? So like, and so, but I can speak for myself, is, yeah, I'm like, overall, my well-being, my recovery, my energy is so much better, cleaner. And I've taken out a lot of like the other crap that I used to take. So, because essentially, what do you need? Where should you be getting your nourishment from? Whole foods, right? Essentially. So you still want to eat your food that you're eating food, real food. And then this is also allowing you to get more of a whole food variety within your diet. So like, you're supposed to eat like 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and a variety of them. And how many people are doing that? I don't freaking do that. I never have. I never loved a whole bunch of vegetables, to be honest. So like, I don't eat a whole big variety every day. That's a lot of work.
right.
I would love to. I know there's some people that do that, but I don't believe that there's very many people that actually do that. In like like the busy culture that we work in. So it just helps bridge that gap of nourishment. And so when you're bridging that gap, so many people have given what do you call it, like referrals or whatever, or like where they talk about how it helped them so much. So like, there's endless and endless people speaking up that take it and have seen benefits. So when they've taken it, and so that speaks for itself. Me, like, I notice my skin has been super healthy. It just has a nicer glow to it, and more vibrant, and my energy is good. And um along with like me doing my inner work, right? So it comes, all of that comes into play. It's a tool. It's a very good tool to have.
Yeah. My boy all the way George Page just made it. And
Oh,
he hold on. Sorry about that. This goddamn phone acting up. Okay. Food is both a weapon and a tool in developing your body. Yeah, because I hear like with the bodybuilders they eat like certain meals like egg whites and like they eat this amount of food and they like 6 times a day and stuff just to compete and all that stuff.
oh yeah, six
So
meals a day. Yep,
yeah,
it's a
you know,
constant eating.
so now like currently like you're in the gym working out like how many days you work out or how many hours you spend in the gym?
About an hour and a half a day for 5 days a week is typically what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay. Well, I could read these poems. I don't even know if I could. It's not what is happening on the outside that we need to control. It's what happening inside of us that we need to learn how to manage. Trying to control actually creates resistance. It is more that we need to get to know it, see it, understand it, observe it, see it for what it is, the pattern, trace that pattern back to its roots. It is the root where foundation is built. It is in that environment where the soil is either enriched
And,
or
and rich.
toxic.
Hmm.
Enriched or toxic. Work the soil. Yeah, I copped your poems and stuff. Cop
Nice.
two of them. You have any thoughts on that? Or
Yeah,
I see.
that one's more like more of a message, not much. It's not really a poem more than a message, more than insight. So
No,
like a
okay.
lot of it comes, yeah, you got to do your inner work, and like there's so many layers to that too, right? Like it's working the soil. It's like when you look at planting, if you have a toxic environment, you're not able to grow from that very well. And if you find that you're in a toxic environment, it means you have to go back and look at the soil that you're growing from. So what go within and see, okay, what's going on? How do I nourish myself in here? So once you go into the soil and figure that out, then you can come out and grow. And that can be applied to like there's so many layers to how that can, like when you're doing a skill, right? And you learn all these new things and you get stuck. What do? They say always go back to the foundation, always go back to that. So, same thing like when you're experiencing life, right? And you're like, something, I keep having this pattern come up for me, or this is coming up for me. Okay, let me look at that. Is this attached to a pattern? If I can see this in a pattern, is the pattern, how has this specific pattern shown up throughout my life? And then you trace that back. And then when you trace it back to when it first started, to the root, then you get into the root. Okay, this is where I need to really go in and see what is the the program that I took in. What is the story that I took in, the program that I believed from this original pattern? And then when you go in that, and then it's like, okay, is this story true? Is it accurate? Is it applicable? Is it helping me in my life anymore? Probably not. Okay, so now let's reprogram that. So let's clear it. We're able to clear that out. And then we're like, okay, what is my new program? What is my new belief that I can put in place of that? Okay, I have that. Then you go out into the world. And then with that new information, reminding yourself as you go into the practice so that when this comes up, you can kind of, at first, like you remember how, it may go like this and then this and then this. So the practice of it. So you experience that pattern again, but now you remember that, so you don't feel, think, or react the same way. You're able to identify it. Maybe you react, but like this time you're like more aware of it. So that's your first practice. And then you come up to the pattern again, and then this time you're able to like respond rather than react, because you've actually worked on that pattern, and then you get to instill this new program within. And then maybe the next time that you're given that similar experience, it's just automatic, or you're not even really given that experience anymore, because now you've cleared that away from it. So spirit says, okay, you no longer need this lesson anymore, so we no longer need to put this in front of you anymore, so you no longer need to actually live this pattern because you've cleared it. So now you may have something new may come up, and then you have to go back again, and you work your way in to find the pattern and go into the soil of like, where did this come from?
Did it took you long to understand that? Because that's a lot. You telling me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, because it's almost like you can correct me. It's like what you were saying earlier, like on certain things you have always had to figure out and stuff, and with relationships, with bodybuilding, and you know,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, so yeah, it's just over the course of the years through observation and through reading and through, going within and studying and reading a lot and just mostly it's observation, right? So it takes a while. Like it's how when you read something, think about, okay, how does this apply in my life? Or how can I apply this? Or how has this applied in my life? How have I seen this play out? And so like when you're reading something, don't just read it to be like read it to integrate it and to like and apply it and to have application to it. Because when you actually understand it and know how it applies to your life and how your patterns and like allow them to show up and process instead of just trying to get through whatever it is that you're reading, like everything can actually give you information to what you're doing, like through studying for my personal training exam. There's things coming in, I was like just having all these universal patterns, but I can't stay too much longer. I do have to get going.
okay. I'll be all over George Page with bodybuilding. You must be consistent. It's one of the biggest tests.
Yeah, I guess tests of what?
Um, I think of like being disciplined, like what he's trying to say, like because bodybuilders they it's sometimes some of them they say it can be a spiritual thing, or it's like it's like even like the with the prep you just have to be consistent. Some people they'll compete, even like competing, like they won't do good in the show, and they might want to give up. It happens like that. So
Yeah, I think so. It's very like shown on a physical level, right? Like so we all can go through things, but it doesn't show up like our work and what we go through and our discipline doesn't show up on a physical level as much as it does for bodybuilding. So bodybuilding allows your discipline to actually be worn through your body, right? Like you're physically showing what, like there's no hiding, like you either did the work or you don't, and it's going to show up. So I think that's where the beauty of like being able to physically experience that discipline and that willpower and that drive and see it. And so that's why it has a certain magic to it, because it's like, you can see an artist or you can see someone do, you know um or a dancer, and like that's a bad. But there's like tons of discipline in that too. So it's just a different expression of it. But with bodybuilding, it's the food part. And I think that that's where people realize where it's very difficult, because because food is a very challenging discipline for many people in the world. And I think maybe that's where the beauty, but then there is it is. It teaches you a whole lot. It teaches you about restraint, and there's a whole lot of magic. But then there's always two sides to the coin. Some people get a little bit too crazy within it and too extreme, where they're not like also ever able to enjoy life. But there's always pros and cons to everything, right? Like you must weigh like what do you want out of life versus don't want, right? Like what do you want to experience versus don't want? What do I value over this?
all right. Would I be asking too much if you flex? You don't have to if you don't want to. Wow, that's nice. Wow. Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. All right. Well, it was a lot for I wanted to talk about like your relationship with with what's his name, Ross? I'm forget.
Reza, Reza,
Yeah, Rasa, Reza,
Reza. How are you talking
Reza.
about Reza?
Yeah, like you like you said that you didn't have like all like the guys that you with the relationship part. Like, what was it about him that you like instead of the other guys that you that were toxic? If I'm kind of articulating it the best way for you to understand.
I don't like. I really got to get going because I have to work.
All right.
So we've been an hour and like almost an hour and a half here. So, but if I could just give a quick, there's a progression of toxicity. So like there was some toxicity in that relationship, and then the next one got more toxicity. But what I had realized is that I'm a player in that toxicity as well. So
Right.
like how, and that's where I had to look into like where was my role, and like how did I feed into whatever was going on. Reza had a lot of beautiful traits, and what did I like? He was very generous, he was spiritual, he was um yeah, he would give anybody anything, and he's had a very boy like energy about him, playful, but also like yeah, like he liked to take care of um take care of people, like but also there were other things too that came up. So um what did like yeah, I guess it's a little personal.
Yeah,
That
no,
I
it's
wasn't
all right.
ready to get
I just
into.
asked. I just asked. I don't want it to go. I'm sorry if if you gotta go, you gotta go. I didn't mean it. I just wanted to. I asked because sometimes of like, let's say if you were like you're looking and you just have to be cautious of the person that you with. But then it's like wolves in sheep clothing. You never know. So that's all. That's I mean, if you
You
understand.
have to get to know somebody. So like, and that's the misconception of people. It's like when you make an assumption about someone because of the way they look, you're feeding into an illusion. You don't know that person. So like a lot of people, for example, go into like look at me and may think like that I may be assertive or aggressive or this and that, when you really don't even know, or like I'm overly sexual, or that I'm overly this or that, just because of the way that I look or the energy that they think through their projection. But when you haven't gotten a chance to know that person and who they are and where they're from, you're basing your attraction is on your story of what you're reading the cover. You don't truly know that person, and you're actually just looking at someone from the outside. So does it mean to even be with a person that is a bodybuilder if you're not a bodybuilder? You think I want to date a bodybuilder, but you don't do anything in that industry, and you want to date a bodybuilder. You have no idea that someone who competes is like getting up, their meals are 6 times a day, they're not going out, they're not having drinks, they're not like, doing all these social events that maybe you might find fun. They're not, you know, doing XYZ and that you like to enjoy. They're not like smoking joints or doing, or maybe some of them are, but most may like, they're not having munchies. They're not going to the movies. And so then when you take that aspect and be like, okay, do I really want to date a bodybuilder? If like I value actually, watching a movie, or I value having this snack, or I value like having this kind of food on a regular basis, right? So it's
Right.
like you come in and you think like I want to date a bodybuilder when your values are completely different. And then you get in and say you get the opportunity. That's a spiritual growth opportunity when you realize, You know, it wasn't what I did. So what happened was you projected and you liked someone because of an image without knowing what goes into it and without knowing who they actually are as a person. You got to like somebody and enjoy somebody also for they are who they are as a person if you want to get an actual relationship with them.
All right. I'm gonna cut it short because because people telling me let her go and stuff. So, but I enjoy talking with you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You happy, George? I'm letting her go. Fall back. All right.
Glad you guys listened. I hope everybody enjoyed the information.
All right.